Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Bush here. Today I'm going to be going over a more advanced guide on the Conan Exiles Dev Kit. This is going to be going in depth on how to make weapons. Everything I'm going to be showing you, I'm going to be showing you how to create your own unique blueprint for the weapon. I'm going to be showing you how to make a unique damage proc, a particle effect system on that if you say you want it to be, say, a flaming sword, or if you want to add some kind of light or sound effect that your sword makes. I'm not going to be going over how to make any items or how to make the textures or how to implement them better in the Conan Exiles Dev Kit. That's more of a Unreal Engine unique guide, and it can go really into depth, and that's not what it's about. This is specifically about how the mechanics of it. And also, as I said, this is more of an advanced guide, so I'm going to assume you've watched every other video on tutorials on how to use the dev kit. So I'm going to be skimming over a lot of the basics. But I'll be going more into detail on how to actually make the weapon itself. And then only tips I am going to give referencing this is through any 3D modeling thing or program. Conan Exiles uses actual life-size measurements, so you want to measure them and make sure they're life-size. You can just import a mesh or create a weapon similar of size. Tip number 2 for your model. This is where your 0 point is where your hands are going to go. So if this is, see, your blade is down here, your hand is going to be holding it up and the blade right here. So I want to make sure you put your 0 point. One final thing, not the whole final thing, for your textures, for Blender, how you easily export your textures is just go over to texture paint, image, save as, and then you just save it as a PNG. And then for exporting, you have to save it as an FBX. Unreal Engine only uses FBXs, so you have to save it as an FBX. And that can cause problem if you're coming from like a CAD program. It doesn't always work properly. It's not really, CAD programs aren't designed really for animation, so you might have to do some tweaking in a program in order to make it work. But that then continues it for the intro. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the dev kit itself. Alright, now that we're actually in the dev kit, may not be as familiar as if you left it standard. All it is, this is on the bottom, and right here is, I have went ahead and clicked this button to open the file. It really just makes it easier to select your mod folder specifically. Now, some just base things. Folders, they don't actually matter at all. They're mainly just for organizational purposes. Use them if you want, you don't want them, it doesn't really matter. And then from here, so you exported your mesh, and how you import it is you go ahead and go over to import. You need to have your mod folder selected. And as I said, this is more of a advanced guide. I assume you've watched videos. So I assume you know what data tables are, and you already have gotten to the point where you have your mod controller and your actor component made already. If you don't really have that, or if you're completely lost, I would suggest Deathmongo's creating your first mod video. That's kind of a really good one to go off of in order to make your first mod and getting your first mod set up, because it goes over making your actor components, creating your own data tables and recipes and stuff like that, and how to actually merge those into their original data tables. So if you're completely lost right here with what I'm talking about, go watch some more of the basic tutorials out there As I said, Death Among Us is a pretty good one, to be honest. And what you would want to do from here, you already have imports going to open wherever you saved it from. We're just going to go ahead and go from here. Basic static meshes, such as weapons. You're not going to need a skeletal mesh. They're weapons. Aside from bows will need a skeletal mesh, and you'll have to... That's a bit more of an advanced one because there's a lot of issues with importing and exporting bones into and out of Unreal. So there's a specific way you have to do it in order to make it work. But this, you can pretty much just leave most of it as standard. Import normals. Importing materials and textures, you don't really need that. And then from there, you would just import. I already have mine in here, so I'm not going to import them. I'm just going to cancel it out. And then the basis of creating your materials, you need to go ahead and right click, material, and name it whatever you would want. Like, let's just call it that. You double click it to open up, and then from there, whatever textures you'd have, you just do the same process, import wherever your file is for your texture, just import it, but import it into the mod folder that you have made. And then say the textures, as I said, I'm not going to go into how to set up textures and make them look good, but all you would have to do is set it up. You'd probably want to bring some normals and stuff like that if you're trying to make stuff look good. And then you would just apply, once you have your texture set up, you apply and you can kind of see a screenshot of it, and then you'd save it. I've already done that. I kind of already have that stuff set up properly. So I am going to go ahead and remove that. Actually, I'm not going to remove that just yet. I'll do it later. But that is just the basics of how to apply textures. And then when you have that, you're going to open that up. And then on the drop-down menu, you just search for your texture. I already have mine selected, and it will apply your texture to the material itself. So that's how you kind of get your model in here and get the textures that you've made for it onto your weapon. And then from there, you're going to go ahead and open up your data table, and you just hit the add button. I've already done it. And then open up. You're going to create a unique number right here. It has to be unique. You can't use separate ones that's used regularly in game already. So you need to use a unique weapon. And then from there, this is the name of your weapon. This is just fluff text. This is what kind of goes on when you collect the item. What it shows you. This is what shows up on your info. This is your icon. Keep in mind, if you're making an icon, you will need to. There are guides out there. Just look them up. I'm not really going into that right now to put the default texture right there so it shows up as transparent. Otherwise, you will see it in the simulation when I go to show you that it will actually have the gray outline on there still. And then icon layer, doesn't really matter. Item class is going to be a base blueprint, your core weapon, what kind of weapon it is, the animations it uses, stuff like that. Visual objects, that is going to be your particle system. I'm going to show you how to create unique ones of these in both ways. Max stack size, equipment location, just the ones of weapons, it's fine. GUI category, it's a weapon. That is your visual static mesh. If you want to make a destructible mesh, you can. It is not necessarily required. You can just pick a random one up and throw it in there. With flags, this is some pretty big ones, kind of. The main one is can be looted. If this is not selected, it essentially can't really be looted. You can spawn it in through the admin panel and throw it on the ground, someone can pick it up, but say it can't really be moved all that much. If you die with it in your hands, or not in your hands, in your inventory at all, it'll disappear. So it can be a good way to, if you're making an admin tool or admin weapon that only you want to have, if you
fuck up something and you die, you don't want someone to walk over by your corpse and pick up an immensely ridiculous tool or weapon. You can have that deselected, so it will be destroyed on death. Item container size is -1. It's not armors. We don't really have to worry too much about that because it is a weapon. That won't apply. There are ways, and I'll show you later, if you want to have like a weapon add armor to it. That's going to be in your modifications through your stats. And then I have based my weapon to use the animations of the axe, so just whatever you're using, just the weapon type, one hand. Compatible animations, this is weapon, so it's mainly for bows and stuff like that. Sounds transmitter type, it's 2, it's fine. And then this is stuff you don't really work. This is just your base stamina cost right here, these 4 ones based upon your different moves. And then this is the encumbrance weight and your stamina cost multiplier and climbing cost. It's a weapon, so it's when you climb, it's going to be deselected anyways. So yeah, for all the attack data stuff, I would recommend whatever weapon you're creating, go into the regular item table and look up a similar weapon type and then copy that stuff. The only thing, this is going to be your damage on light attack. This is going to be your damage on heavy attack. I know that's a little crazy right there. I've made this mod specifically for a server for like the god tier in-game weapon that has like extremely difficult in-game stuff that goes way beyond the EWA mod. But that's more for admin work stuff. And this is all just stuff like that. Harvest damage, if you want your weapon to harvest stuff, you can have that as well. Reach, sort of similar thing, look at a previous weapon. Item tier, this is number 5 is going to be a legendary. Just keep that in mind if you're using like the EWA shit. It will, for your augments and stuff, you will need 5 for it to be classified as a legendary weapon. Armor pin, this is a percentage base, so 1 means 100%. 5 would be 500%. So if you want like 5 armor pin, just put 0.5 as a percent. This is the damage tier of the types of damage it can do to a structure. This is just some knockback stuff. How much knockback it has. And it's kind of a versus your knockback defense kind of thing. Durability, perish rate. You will need to have a durability at least. You might not need to have. You can make them indestructible. Just put it as 0, but you could have some problems. I've had some in the past, so I just threw a ridiculously high max durability. And then the repair cost, the repair item, you'd have to go in your regular item table to look up an item if you want it to be repaired by something. Keep in mind, this is not affecting repair kits. Your item tier, right here, this is what affects the repair kit of what repair kit can be used. So this, technically, you could only have legendary repair kits and stuff like that. Repair them. Modifiers, this is simply fluff text. It does not actually add anything to your weapon at all. It's just fluff text. And that's the little pins, like when you see legendary, like, say, like usually when you open up your menu and like have like your little menu down here that has the description of the weapon usually in the game. It says like legendary, bonus crit, that's all fluff text. And that's weapons, it doesn't really matter. That's just going over the item table and how to apply it to that. Now so you have that, you have the kind of item table, but now you want to make a weapon based off of something. You want to create a unique blueprint so you can add your own modifiers for the weapon, like say you want to give it plus grit and stuff like that. So what you need to do is whatever weapon you're basing it off of, you would need to look for the base one. So say, say you're just pulling up, say the base item. that is what you're looking for. It's the base item of whatever you're fucking looking for. If you do go through these, it's going to have in your modifiers, or the buffs, it'll have that under like stuff like that. But from here, you're going to want file, and whatever, from here, but meaning whatever weapon you're basing it off of. Axes to hand can sometimes mean one. It's a little funky sometimes, but yeah, just go with it. It's funcom. If you get into this, you'll understand why there's bugs in the game. But you'll just go to save as, and then you want to save as in your mods folder. And then you want to give it a unique name for your weapon. Now keep in mind, you cannot have spaces. You will need to use underscores at least. You don't have to, but it's just easiest. And then you would just hit save. I'm going to cancel because I already have one made. And then from there, since you just saved it, you would go ahead and open up from your mods file your mods folder. Go ahead and get rid of that. And then say, this is what I just made. The base item and then the name. That's what I named mine. You go ahead, double click that to open it. When you save it, it should open it automatically. But now I'm going to go ahead and go through this table. That is not specifically anything that matters right now. Weapon type, it doesn't really matter because it's all based off of a weapon anyways. And then from this is a lot of this is just fluff text. And this, yeah, if you want to create a specific repair kit or something, that can only be used. You can use it through there, but if you just leave it blank, it'll just go by the standard item legendary, or the standard item tier list, which we set it at 5, so that's a legendary weapon. And then this is really just fluff text right here. It's just messages that's saying, hey, you can't, do this. That's just messages. And now here we go down over to here to the durability lost per repair. That would mean if you want it to be like when you repair it, that's how much durability is lost per like the tick. If you set it in the item table where I showed you the can be looted thing, there's also one that has does not no durability to loss on repair. If you don't have that selected, this doesn't matter because it won't lose any durability. Buff list doesn't really matter because we're going to go down to here for these buffs. This I'll show you right after this how to make your own specific weapon proc. But all you really have to do is just add one, boom, add, and then go from there. So you add it, and then from here you just, when I show you how to create one, you will just go from there. But that's how you select the specific buffs that you want. Now we scroll down to here. This is not really it's armor. That is just more of a stamina thing. Item, this is just how much percent. It's 10% per repair tick. Item tags doesn't really matter. Can use while climbing, it doesn't matter because it's a weapon, it'll shut you out anyways. Modifications. This is how you add specific int stats and flow stats. Int stats are like your base stats, like vitality, grit. What you would need to do is go ahead and just Google Conan Exiles Dev Kit stat IDs. Should be your first option. It'll show you all the float stats. If it is a float stat, you will need to select that. Select this box. So you just go over here to the stat mods, add. If it's a float or int stat, it will show you and tell you which one it is in that web page I just gave you. Then of course you can either do a multiply by a factor, or add. And when you multiply, you do have to have a 1. Like if you want to like multiply your health by 50%, you will need to put 1.5. If you just do 0.5, it'll cut your health in half. That'll be your stat ID based upon the float. If it's a float, select that. If it's an int stat, don't have it selected. And then the stat ID, whatever you're trying to apply, add, multiply, and then the modification value. So you want like 10 stamina or 10 like vitality. I think it's like 14, 15. It's probably 14 because that's up there. And then just add 10. And then go ahead and delete that. And then from there, go ahead and keep that up. Now from the same for the buff, take a buff. I would suggest go to be what we did for how we added that. Just type in buff. And then you can pick any one of these because you're going to modify it specifically anyways. They're all the same template. So say you just, here I'm going to go to, because that's the one. This is a good tick one. You just do the same thing, file, save as, go to your mods folder. If I can mods folder, give it a unique name, and then save. And we're going to go ahead and get out of that. Now when you save it, again, it should also open up the new save file. But if it doesn't, or you're trying to find it, you just go back to your mod folder and then open up the weapon proc of whatever you named it. And then right here, the top part of this, you don't really need. And this is where it starts. Take intervals to zeros, like a standard second. Or a frame. It's every frame, but it's just a second pretty much. Start with tick enabled. That's just if you want the tick on there. This does not matter. Cause of death, that is the animation they will make in relation to how they die. Like with bleeds, you know, they kind of like hold their throat as they like kind of like choke on their blood. Like on fire, like lava, they go screaming around like they're on fire. This is the damage per tick on the buff. This doesn't really matter. The name, say if you're using a mod that displays your buffs and debuffs on the side, like of the game, this is the name that will pop up, and this is the icon. You can just drop down and browse any kind of icon. You can just scroll through here and find the one you like. It'll work. This doesn't really matter. Buff priority, you want to keep that at 0. Buff speed, no. Buff sound, if you want a unique sound for the buff, you can add that. Debuff type, you can have poison or none. None. Poison is a poison, so that can be affected by survival. Can run buff, yeah, just go ahead and select that. Is a debuff, it is a debuff because it's a damage tick, so bam. Is affected by survival. You go ahead, if you want it to, like, how buffs work is typically like on bleeds and stuff. The higher survival you have, the shorter the tick duration is, and the shorter the tick timer is. So that is by a factor. Standard is 0 or 0.016 is the standard for just like how survival usually affects bleeds and stuff. But yeah, buff ticks, that's how many ticks one. So if you apply the buff to someone, that's how many ticks. If you have it Buff tick duration is just a second. That's how many seconds in between each tick, and that's just one. That's how many ticks there is. So this tick would last 20 seconds, and it would proc 20 times. Should stack? Yes, you can. So you can have stacks. Refresh total ticks and reset current buff. So that all those mean is go ahead and have them select. All that means is every time you apply a new one, it resets the tick timer and the tick time. And then the stacks is just how many stacks you want. Buff helpers, this doesn't really matter all that much. Expiration time, again, it doesn't really matter. And then all of this is stuff that doesn't really matter. And then from there, all you have to do is compile and save once you have all your data created. Then you go back to the your blueprint for the item you made, and then you just select that, and then wham, you got it. And then now, say you want a particle effect. Like I have the sword I have has a fire effect on that. So you're going to want to create a visual blueprint. And then, let's see. Let's do that. Let's see. Whatever you're doing, just select the weapon type that you're doing, like X. Like say it's X. Then you just file, save as, boom. Same thing as before. Go down over to your mods, save it as a unique name for like a visual buff, and then it will open up a new one. That's kind of the same thing that you got the event draft from here. But what you're really looking for is this over here. What you want to do to add either a point, so here you can add sound effects that your weapons make, a point light to say, give it a point light to make it shine, or a bright, like act as a torch, and then particle systems. So that's pretty simple. There, what you want to do, you do want to go over the viewport, and then say for your weapon, first thing you want to do is go over to add component, hit a static mesh, and then whatever your static mesh you created that you're working with, go ahead and implement that in. It's really just to make it easier so you have a reference point of how to put the particle effects on you. These, you base it off of whatever weapon you were using, like the one-handed axe. So it it's going to follow the sword. So you just want to align it onto the sword as is, and then yeah, you want to make sure it's followed. So how do you actually do that? So for the point light, really just add point light, and then this little dot is where it's going to stimulate from, and this is kind of the intensity. And then light color just uses an RGB system, or you could use the HSV system, what light it is. That's how you add the point light. Now for the particle effects, the cool stuff. You need to go as the same, add component, particle system. And then from there, you hit this drop down menu, and then you can scroll through these and look at all the different particle systems. One thing I will say, if it has this little red dot right here in the corner, you can't use it, unfortunately. You'll have to use another one. So like these are, let's see. Yeah, just like the fire brazier cone, I think. If say we go down here, yeah. So with here, you can kind of like scale them. So you need location if you want to like do some precise movement. Because this usually goes in blocks of 10 or whatever. so that you can place it as you need. So that's why you want to bring the static mesh in from there. I'm not going to go too much further in depth. You can have all the time in the world to play around with that. And now for audio, so you just do the same thing, add component, audio, and then for the sound. You're going to have, that's going to be another trial and error thing. You'll just have to play the sounds out as they go. You can, if you want an easy way, you can select that, click the file browser, and it'll open up. And you can just play that. So you can test out the sounds real easy. That's all going to be experimental for you. And then the only real different things is the volume multiplier and the pitch multiplier, just to kind of vary the sounds a bit. And then once you are done with this particle system, and how you got it to how you like it, you're going to want to delete that static mesh. If you don't, your visual system and your static mesh you made in your data table are going to collide with each other. And your Conan's going to freak the fuck out because it's going to have two meshes in the exact same place colliding with each other, and it's not going to know what to do. And then you would just compile and save. And then from there, you would go back to your mods folder. You want to make sure you've saved everything to apply new stuff. I've done a lot of things I don't want to save in here, so I'm not going to save them. But from there, we're just going to go back to the data table and the Sunfang data table. From there, the base item blueprint that you made. This is what you're going to want to apply for the item class. And then for the visual blueprint that we just made, that was the particle system that you just made. So you're going to want to go ahead and apply it to that. And you're going to file and save it. And then from there, it's a good time to test it out. So you go in here. If you're not an admin already, just some tips. Control M is technically escape. You'll have to go over to settings and make yourself admin. Shift insert is admin panel, so just keep that in mind when you're using the admin panel, because shift insert, there's no way to exit out of this without hitting escape. You could go up to menu, but if you resume, you'll just go back to the menu. So you will have to shift insert to exit out of the admin panel. And now I already have one spawned in here, but anything you add for mods is going to be in your other file. Sure, if you've played enough mods, you've noticed that. And then you would just select one to spawn in. You hit shift insert to get out of that. I already have one in here, so boom, we select it. And now we go. You can go ahead and check it out and make sure it's all good. And then, as I said, it's an axe. On a later one, I'll deal with how to fix particle systems and stuff with the animations. That's kind of a bit more advanced. And but actually, on the next video, as you can see, I've kind of been working on my own armor. I will be showing everyone how to properly attach bones to in Blender. I'll be showing you how to set up a proper hierarchy in order to implement bones. Sorry for that, but I'll show you how to properly apply meshes to skeletal meshes in order to be able to bring in armor, so you actually it flows with the hand and stuff. And a big one is going to be, I'll just show you for a quick preview. This item is not completed yet at all. I just got the base physical shape in here. Oh yeah, that's right, I haven't saved it. But the big thing is going to be how to apply skirts and stuff to that. So when you jump up, it actually bends down and you're not having issues with your knees poking out, and obviously that's poking out, but I'll show you how to fix that as well. But I'm still kind of working on this. Obviously the textures got screwed up on the export there. So I'll show you all how to properly do that on the next video on how to set up armor, because that's probably going to be another major thing that you'll want. But in the meantime, have a good one. And oh, actually one thing before I mention, and I forgot, I set up escape for to kill the recording. But to upload it, just real simple. Conan Exiles Dev Kit, just select that. This menu will pop up. This is just going to be the mod name. It's going to be your author for your Steam ID. This is going to be your URL. And this is just going to be version. All of this stuff is flavor text. Fuck you, wild dog. And then you just build mod. If you're having some issues, all you got to do is select the active mod folder and delete the content stuff. 9 times out of 10, that will fix the issue cooking the mod. Don't delete the local files. That will remove everything. Local files is everything in these tables right here, so that will delete everything. And then once it's done cooking, or yeah, you just build mod, it'll cook, it'll take a while, then you just upload to Steam. So that's just basics of how you upload it to Steam.